Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Raid Shadow Legends. In today's video, I want to talk to you all about the Assassin's Creed collab. Now, I do want to also say that I am recording this in advance, so if you're wondering why, this video is probably going out a couple of days after recording, and so if the screen looks weird or what's available is weird, that is why. But we have our very last chance this weekend, and I'm hoping to release this video on Saturday, so it kind of makes sense. But with the Void Shard summon boost of basically the last chances of you able to get Bayek and also Pontiff Augustine. Nobody's talking about these characters, but I want to talk about the Assassin's Creed collab in general. How good was this collab? It is going to be ending very soon, right? Like it's going to be, I believe, next Wednesday, I think is the final day of the ability to log in to get Ezio for free. And then that collab is going away. And I do think that there is going to be something else. I've talked about in one of my other videos that I think there is something coming around very shortly. But I want to talk about the impact of these characters in general. I want to go one by one through each of the Assassin's Creed characters and how good they were, what kind of impact they had on my roster and for maybe others, and just try to talk about it as objectively as possible. Hype levels, all this stuff as well. Now, before we get started with the rest of the video, don't forget that you can use the QR code in the top right hand of the screen to get Tholen Falbeard absolutely free. And also these three amazing epics. So we have, not Takeover, Stag Knight, Rector Drath, and Barrack the Fat. These are better anyways. And also don't forget to use this promo code to get the Void Legendary to Hanorach by using the promo code Desert Queen in the first 48 hours of a brand new account. Okay, so in no particular order, I'm just going to go through the ones basically in the order of which I find them on my factions list here. So I do want to start off with Edward Kenway. He was recently in a more guaranteed event, right, with the Path, and you could have got him, and I did get him. And actually, I did get all the assassins with the exception of Pontiff Augustine, who I don't really care about, but we'll get to him anyways. So Edward Kenway, like, I think he's actually the cool Black Flag. I think he is the coolest assassin, in my opinion, from the list anyways. But let's actually just talk really quickly about the Assassin's Creed hype, the franchise, and all that stuff. So I actually haven't played a lot of the games. So maybe compared to some previous collabs, this one for me does not hit home as much as it might for some. But it is actually a franchise that makes a lot of money. So a lot of people have played it, right? A lot of people know Assassin's Creed at the very least. But did it really hit the hype levels for Raid Shadow Legends players? And did they have a good impact on the game or your ability as player to kind of take advantage of that and do a lot of things? And people, of course, a lot of people are going to say compared to TMNT, the Turtles, probably not. But maybe the Turtles were a bit too OP because they kind of clean sweeped most of the game's content for the most part, right? You know, and it helped people get very far very quickly. And so I think that the Assassin's collab maybe took a step back. But let's try to take a look at the kits, especially objectively. Edward Kenway, where am I using him? He's not maxed out yet for me, so I don't have him at 60 yet. Where do I plan to use him? Not PvP, even though that's probably where he's mainly meant to be. But characters who are good in PvP are often good in wave content. So faction crypts, I know it should not be relegated to faction crypts, but when you get to doing faction crypt hard mode, it actually is worth the farm, if that makes sense, like to build characters for that. As far as his kit goes, right, you want to do the A3, I think, usually at the beginning, because it places, if you're running him with any other assassins, it does place Perfect Veil on him and also other assassins. Ignores Stone Skin, which again probably is why he's good in PvP, block damage, things like this. And also if you get a kill shot with this, it is a block revive. Okay, now his AoE attacks 2 times, steals all buffs from all enemies. This is good and decreases each enemy's turn meter by 20%. And if he's under the Perfect Veil from his A3 or from elsewhere, I suppose, it cannot be resisted. So you don't need accuracy in like places where you know you're going to get the job done fast. The second hit also has a 75% chance of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn, and it ignores block debuff. So this is really good, right? For players who might have like the Feral set or other ways of having block debuffs in PvP. It just ignores all that, right? So that part is nice too. And then the A1 is a 3-hit attack. And this is pretty nuts, actually, because with the books, it is a 15% turn meter decrease 3 times. But if it's a critical, which he should be, right? You should be building him with 100% crit. 25%. So that's 75% turn meter reduction on an A1. This is a lure level of madness, except for his kit is way better on the other parts. So I think that this part is actually really good if you manage to pick up Edward for, say, a mid-game account even, or a progression account that's still progressing in like a lot of the other areas of the game. So I do think that he is actually better than some of the other ones in terms of that kind of PvE context. So his ratings are good. I don't know if he's necessarily good for Hydra. There's a 4.7 there I saw on Hydra. I don't know if he's necessarily someone that you should. I mean, he could steal bust, but there's no block bust, right? So you can't sleep you can't sleep Hydra anyways. But you could clear it, I suppose. If it is under perfect veil, you could steal the buffs. So that's something. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's designed to be a Hydra champion. And then, of course, he's got that ensnare debuff as well when he attacks champion. When each hit inflicted by the champion is a 50% place in that. Ensnare, I mean, this stops you from getting turn meter, right? I'm pretty sure that's what it does. But I don't know if that's all that relevant in PvE. That's all. But this champion does inflict 20% more damage against targets under ensnare, so that could work on bosses too. So that's something. So I think Edward Kenway, I would give him a 4 out of 5. Actually, I think he's a decent champion. Let's talk about Sacred Order because there's two of them in here. There's Basim and Ezio. Let's just talk about Ezio, right? He was the free login champion. I actually use him in my Doom Tower cleaning. Sorry, not cleaning. A poison detonation team where I used to basically go through the nodes very quickly. Like I can clear a node in 20 seconds or less. So this helps me kind of grind up and do all the floors very quickly. He also has a speed aura. So this was really good for new players. And of course, he comes with a free 5 red stars. So that is pretty good as well. He places a perfect veil on this champion for 2 turns at the start of each round. He also has like a way of basically negating damage here. It is a chance, of course, a 35% chance of doing that, but still pretty nice. And also 35% chance of counterattacking. It might kind of remind you of the annoyance of Predator when he kind of evades things. Now, he has a very strong single target, A3, and also steals buffs from targets, and also he does not need accuracy if he's under Veil or Perfect Veil. So either you have the first 2 turns on the round with this passive, or you have other characters that can apply it as well. So either or. And also his A2 does a lot of poison, does a lot of poison sensitivity, and does some bombs, I think, if they're under Stone Skin, right? I haven't actually booked him, though, my version of him. But there you go. And he also does a decreased defense. I've seen a lot of people use him, especially in early accounts in Demon Lord. Like he does a lot of good damage. He does a lot of poisons and stuff like that. Poison detonation is also pretty strong. So he is a good champion. I think I would put him probably up there with Edward actually as like a 4 to 5. But in terms of overall impact to the game, like PvE content progression, he's good, right? But he's not. I'm not too mad about some of these. Let's talk about Basim, right? So Basim was the other Sacred Order. Where did you get him? He was a Deck of Fates, which actually I forgot in one of my previous videos talking about Deck of Fates and Souls and stuff like this. I actually totally forgot because I pulled him in a Prism Shard randomly, and then which was great, right? Because I didn't have to do the Deck of Fates. But then I forgot that he was in Deck of Fates because I didn't do it. Anyways, Basim also part of Sacred Order. So the good thing is that if you have Basim and Ezio, at least in faction crypts, you can use them together. But as far as his kick goes, whenever this champion is attacked, steal a random buff from the attacker. So that's kind of nice. Ignores 25% of a target's resistance if this champion's under Veil or Perfect Veil. The Wings of Baghdad. Okay, so he does... No, it's damage. He does damage. Deals more if they have buffs and debuffs on him and buffs and debuffs on the target. So that's kind of cool. And then he gets a Perfect Veil from this for 3 turns, which is great. And it's a free attack, right? You get an extra turn. So this is nice. And it goes into this, right? Which is a block active skills. This is very good for wave-based content. I don't know if it does ignore, if he's under Veil, it does ignore block debuffs. But we're in the kind of meta now where everyone, at least when I PvP, a lot of people are either using Stone Skin or they're using Mercurial. So I don't know how much value this has in that kind of meta now. However, he is very good for wave clearing in Faction Crypts Hearts. I do use him there. But as far as other places, yeah, I don't know, right? I don't think Basim really... He has a weakened debuff too. He has a 50% chance of applying debuff spread. Champions under Veil is 100%, so he can spread one random debuff. I mean, for PvE, he's not the best, right? I want to put him at like a 3.5. None of them are really terrible, but yeah, he's not as good as Edward or Ezio in my opinion in terms of importance. Anyways, yeah, he's mid, right? Like he's usable, of course, but he's just he's not nothing to write home about, right? And even I want to talk about the fusion character that we had, Cassandra, because comparably to Donatello from the TMNT, who was a support character but was like game breaking, I think Donatello was the best fusion of 2025. Somebody can fight me, but I think for the vast majority of players, in terms of usability, Donatello was the best fusion character of 2025. Now, Cassandra, obviously part of the new Argonauts faction. There is no faction crypts yet. And I will probably use her when that comes out. She had a really neat passive, right, where she can't die. Is it this? Or is it part of her other skill anyways? Whenever this champion attacks an enemy, increase this champion's attack by an amount equal to 50% of the target's defense. Okay, so it's going to hit a little bit harder if they have higher defense. Whenever an enemy attacks this champion, increase this champion's defense by an amount of 50%. So, okay, her survivability is a little bit better. She does have a all allies, all aura, all battles speed aura. Isu's Blessing. My biggest gripe with this skill was that it's not a bonus action, aka it's not free like Basim's thing was with the Perfect Veil. Removes all debuffs from this champion because she kind of want to leads with this, right? Like she wants to start with this. Places a 50% increase attack, shatter, and speed buff, and then alternatively, or well, with having all these buffs on, she will survive at 1 HP as long as she's under these. Now, it's really good for PvE solo when she's fast enough that she can always keep this on. If you have the mastery that extends this to 3 turns, there's a good chance that she's always going to have this on if she's fast enough that she can keep having this on before other bosses take a turn, right? You could speed tune this, I suppose, if you want. I saw solo clears of Iron Twins Fortress with using Cassandra. She does a one-hit attack here that places decreased defense before attacking. I love these things where they do it before attacking. Very nice. Defense down, HP burn for 3 turns. Cannot be resisted if she's under Veil or Perfect Veil, but she does not do that herself, so that's a small problem. That they're meant to be used with other Veil champions or some other way to get it on her. Places a stun debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. This is good for PvP, I guess, because I've seen this before. Cannot be resisted if they're under Perfect Veil, but I think there's too much reliance on the Veil system where some of them don't actually do it, and that the whole it almost feels like the assassins were meant to be put together, but also that they're not at the same time. So it was a little bit of a weird one. The A1 hits 3 times, but 6 times if she's under 50% HP or less, which actually kind of goes into this a little bit, right? She stays alive as long as she has all these buffs. And in a PvE context, she won't have this stripped from her. I'm thinking like Fire Knight. Like you could be on death's door, but as long as you have these buffs, you're not going to die. And so 6 hits is a lot because you could actually perhaps keep them permanently rewound, right? Like so 7.5% times 6 alongside someone like Edward, that could be like a permanent knockback there on the turn meter. This effect cannot be resisted if they're under Veil or Perfect Veil. So I could see like some PvE teams being built around the Assassin's Creed. It just was not as easy as it was for the Turtles. That's all. I know we shouldn't compare it to the Turtles. I think they broke the game with them anyways. So that was Cassandra, and I think the other one. So we've had Cassandra, we've had Edward, Ezio. There's one left, right? And that's going to be Bayek, right? Who I do have, and I think he actually has the most value. Oh yeah, Cassandra. 3.5 out of 5 for now. We'll see how much value she has later on in the Argonauts faction, which she probably will. Bayek of the Barbarians faction. I think I'm just going to say right now he's basically a 4.5 or 5 out of 5 for me. I went out of my way to try to get this guy, and he is still going to be available in the Void Shards, I think, when this video comes out, if he's someone that you want to try and chase and finish off with, because I do love his kit. I'm using him a lot in PvP as well, but also in PvE and getting a lot of value here. So this champion and their allies cannot receive critical hits from enemies whose accuracy is equal to or lower than their own. So as long as your accuracy is higher than the enemies, whether it's a boss or whether it's a regular champion, your team or your characters do not get crit. But it has to be like a compare. It's not just comparing to Bayek. It's like to each of the allies on your team. So as long as you decrease their accuracy and raise your own, this will make it very easy for this to trigger. So we have this A3, and it's a free skill, right? Which I love. Extra turn free skills, accuracy buff, defense buff, and perfect veil for 2 turns. 3 turns for defense up because he gets the free extra turn there, so he doesn't waste that. Really good buffs, right? This is very helpful. The perfect veil is very helpful, very good in Hydra. I've been using him in my Hydra team. Very, very solid here. And the A2 is an AoE with a 50% decrease accuracy. So he's going, accuracy is going up and accuracy is going down. Also 50% decreased resistance debuff as well. So icing on the cake here. Also up to a 2-turn provoke if there is 3 or more debuffs on the enemies. This is very strong. Very strong in Hydra. I love Bayek. I unfortunately have no souls on him, but maybe I'll pull for it after the fact. And then he also places a leech debuff on his A1 for 2 turns, and it also fills his turn meter by 20%, meaning that he's getting back around to all of these things, the buffs and the debuffs. He's also a pretty cheap, if you're lucky, a pretty cheap legendary booker, because I think you kind of only really need this one, the Prayer of the Medjay, minus 2 turns. I think this is really helpful. You don't need to have the A2. There's for the -1 cooldown. I feel like it's not that necessary, to be honest. Especially if you have the masteries that potentially extend this to 3 turns, then I don't think it's all that necessary either. And he's getting his turn meter back around fairly quickly in the meantime. So Bayek for me, really, really solid. Like, yeah, he has high Hydra and high Chimera usage here. He is good in PvP though. I am using him in live arena and in a tag arena and things like this. So in harder content, I think that he is very strong. So I do really like Bayek, and he is the best character of this collab. Finally, I do want to talk about Pontiff Augustine. I don't like him, but I do want to talk about him anyways. It's kind of weird that the event, at least the last 2, between Pontiff Augustine and Shredder, they have not been that great. Queen of Hearts from the Alice collab event, whatever, it wasn't a collab, but was really good. Just the last 2 of these, not so good. So he does have an all speed battle aura of 24%, which is very solid. But his kit is just, allies receive 25% less damage from enemies under block damage, unkillable, veil, perfect veil, stone skin. Okay, fine. Right, less damage, cool. Each time an enemy receives a buff, is healed, or has their turn meter filled, has a 50% chance to decrease the duration of all their buffs. This is kind of annoying, especially when you're fighting him as an event boss. Once per skill and once per target. Okay, so, I mean, kind of penalizing people for healing or having their turn meter filled by reducing the duration of... But it's only 50% chance. If it was 100% chance, then we're talking, because if they buff, then they lose the turns on that, which is kind of neat. The buffs that he has, increase accuracy and intercept, and a turn meter fill. Extra turn, though. I do love extra turn skills, so that's fine. And then he does a remove all buffs from all enemies, and places a ensnare debuff, which also that can be done by Edward. Ignores block debuffs if they're under 3 or more buffs. Turn meter reduction, and 40% if they're under 3 or more buffs. Right, if it hasn't been removed already from the passive. And then he's got a block active skills debuff on the A1. He seems very meh, right? Like barely anyone has him, actually, in fact, but he's not rated very well. He has almost no applicability, I think, in PvE. And yeah, I don't know how good he really is in the current meta anyways, of PvP with Stone Skin and Mercurial. Especially Mercurial, right? That would block a lot of these things anyways. I don't know, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on Pontiff Augustine. Now, overall, I do think that it was a good collab. It wasn't amazing. It didn't get me hyped up. And I didn't hear a lot of people in the community really hyping the Assassin's Creed characters up either. So I would be curious, give me, please, your honest thoughts. Please post in the comments what your thoughts were about the Assassin's Creed collab. What could they have done better? Who was your favorite character? If you ended up getting some of them, let me know. Where are you using some of these characters as well? And have they made a big impact to your game? Have they made a big impact to my game? Not really, but the one that has the most would have to be Bayek, right? Because I am using him in a 9-piece protection, more of a supporty build in Hydra. And that's where I'm using him. I'm getting a lot of value out of there. I do love his kit. I also do use him a bit in live arena as well. But aside from that, I would say largely there hasn't been a significant impact to my roster at this time, other than extra characters for faction crypts, right? They are solid legendaries that will do some value in faction crypts, especially in faction crypts hard. But other than that, I don't think that any of them were really that great and amazing. like some of the other characters were even standalone in the Turtles collab. But we'll see what ends up happening on the next one, and whatever collab that might be. I would love it to be Mortal Kombat. Please give us Mortal Kombat, Sub-Zero, or maybe that even could be like a November thing. Sub-Zero and Scorpion, please. That would be amazing. Anyways, I would love to know your thoughts. Now, before we get going, of course, I do want to remind people that if you haven't started playing yet, what are you waiting for? Get out from under the rock, get Tholan Falbeard for free, get Stagnite, Rector Drath, and Farrakhan the Fat at level 10, 20, and 30. Don't forget that you can get one more legendary by the name of Tahanarak. All you got to do is plug in the promo code Desert Queen within the first 48 hours of a brand new account. That's it for me, everyone, and I'll see you all on the next one. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.